One of the reasons I wanted to get that Volkswagen out of the garage is because it's using up my garage space, and I got other things I like to keep messing with, like this old Rambler here. This old Rambler, I noticed, I drove up to a car show the other day, and I noticed they had a little puddle of oil underneath it. So I took it out and drove it a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. That's a big oil leak. That's not a little oil leak. It's leaking right in the area of the oil filter, but it's not coming out of the filter. It's actually coming out of the oil pressure gauge line, not where the line goes into the top of the block. I can actually see it. I don't know if you can. If you look below the distributor, there's a little brass connector that goes down into the back of the block. It's leaking out of the black brass connector. I've got this old plastic oil pressure line on here, which I don't like. I've seen this stuff break and spill all the oil out of the car in a hurry, and that's bad business. You don't want that happening. So what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is tighten it up, see if it fixes it. If it doesn't, I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to cap that off until I can get to the store and get me a brass line and replace that, a copper line, and replace that with a copper line that won't be so fragile, won't be so likely to spring a leak. So I think I'll let that cool off a little bit, and then where I can reach my hand in there without getting burned, and then see if I can tighten it up. If I can, I'll find, I got something around here I can plug that with, I'm pretty sure. Alright, I got her fixed. I didn't wind up taking that out. When I went to loosen it up, it was so loose that I figured, well, maybe if I tighten it up a little bit, it'll fix it. I don't know if you can see it down in there or not, but it's not leaking anymore. So that's all set. I had a hard time getting to it, but I remembered I'd bought some of these little wrenches in a yard sale that they're like a little open end wrench that goes on a ratchet, and I was able to get that down beside it and get that on there and turn it with a ratchet, and that worked out pretty good. So that's taken care of. I've also got a fan shroud that was on this car when I bought it, and I took it off because I thought it was ugly. But I left this thing running out there one day, and I noticed it actually got pretty hot and overheated. So if I'm ever in a parade or anything, I'd probably wish I'd had that back on there. So I might put that back on. The other thing I'll go ahead and confess to is that I think this thing's running on 7 cylinders. This is not my A number 1 engine for this car. My A number 1 engine for this car is sitting on an engine stand back here. I pulled it out to rebuild, probably a couple years ago now, and then I found the rat rod out there, and I got sidetracked with the rat rod and never did work on that one. I was gonna give that one a quick little rebuild and pop it back in here, and I was only planning to drive this one. This motor was actually a engine that came out of a truck my brother-in-law had, and I stuck it in here and it ran good, but it's always had that little skip, and it smooths out after you get it going a little bit, but I suspect the cam's probably wore out or something like that. But anyway, it's good enough to get around in. We can still go fast and burn the tires a little bit if we need to. And that other engine that's back there is kind of moving up on the list now that I got that Volkswagen out of here. I got 2 things I'd like to do with this car. One is to rebuild that engine and put it back in here, and the other one is to replace the rear quarter, the rear fender. I've got a brand new, not a brand new, but a new old stock fender for that Rambler here. It's cut in half, but it's all there. And this one is Bondo and rust. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. See the little rust coming out of that, and this is Bondoed here. All of this part down here looks like it's Bondo. But I've got a whole fender skin. It looks like there's some Bondo up in here too. But I've got that whole fender skin that would go right here. And it's the same thing I did on this other side. This other side was rusted out and Bondoed up, and I had a guy in California cut this one off a car and ship it to me, and I replaced it several years ago. It's not perfect looking, but it's all good straight metal. I'm probably going to do something the same on that other side over there. This is a car I wouldn't mind sanding down, doing a new paint job on, because it'd be a pretty car, and I wouldn't mind painting it up and making it nice. I don't think about painting the rat rod at all, but this one here looks good with paint. A nice coat of yellow paint would do a world of good for this old girl. But anyway, I thought I'd share that. My leak's all fixed now. Got a puddle to clean up, but there's nothing else coming out. So that's a beautiful thing. So I guess I'll stop with that. I got another project or two I want to work on today, and I'll leave this as it is and we'll go from there. Okay, the Rambler's good to go. I took her out and washed her. Got her tucked away in the garage here. Car show this weekend, we were thinking about taking her, so if we do, she's ready to go. I'm not one of these kind of people that spends 3 days polishing the car before I go to the show, and even if I did, it wouldn't matter because it wouldn't shine. Paint's faded and all that stuff. And one of these days I'll paint her. But you know, I'd rather have a car you can just jump in and drive and feel good about, and sit on the fender if you want to, and have birds poop on it and bugs on the windshield. You know, I was at a car show the other day and there was a little speck of bird poop, and some boy said, "Oh, you better get that off of there." And I said, "No, I'm going to leave it on there. It shows I've been out driving it." That's just the way I am. Anyway, she's ready to go. The toaster's ready to go. I got some old car metal I think I might cut up a little bit today, and then maybe after that we'll go in the house and call it good.